It's hard to imagine anyone with a more distinguished record of public service than Mr. Brownback. Kent has outlined it all, and so thank you for your public service, Mr. Brownback.
My delight, my honor.
Yet despite this record, Mr. Brownback and his new group, the National Committee for Religious Freedom, found themselves the victim of a sudden debanking. Can you start by explaining what happened, describing what happened, and how did you find out, and what was your initial reaction?
We formed this group, National Committee for Religious Freedom, after I'd left the ambassadorship. I'd worked on a lot of international religious freedom issues for a number of years, and I go to put a deposit in there, and the lady behind the counter goes, I'm sorry, she's looking on the computer screen, says that account has been closed, that it was done at the corporate level. This is non-revocable, and I'm not supposed to say anything else about it. And I go, what? I mean, what have we done? What happened? He said, this is what the computer screen says. I had heard about people getting debanked before, but to be candid with you, I'd kind of thought people were fudging a little bit, or it really wasn't that big of a deal, or they had done something themselves wrong. You know, I mean, they were involved in some nefarious international activity or something. You know, I'd kind of sloughed it off thinking like, yeah, I don't know that there's really a story here. And then it happens to me. And then it happens to us. And I'm going, this is wrong. So I'm looking at it going, we're not going to let this lie. Eventually we got a response back saying, well, we're concerned about, you know, what we want you to disclose who all your contributors are and who you're going to contribute to in the election cycle coming up. And the executive director on it. And these are recorded conversations, so we've got a recording of these conversations, said, well, you don't require that of other organizations to disclose that kind of information. And this is a 501c4 organization, so we don't have to do that. Well, and then you got to also fill these forms out. And then they escalated it on up, and I have a former staff member here that worked for Chase Bank. They had him get a hold of me. And he said, well, it was bad customer service. This is something that shouldn't have happened to you. We're sorry, but it was just bad customer service. So then we continued to escalate it on up. And then they said, well, this was a mistake on our part, but we were concerned about money laundering and terrorist financing by you. And I was going, you know, really, I've had top secret security clearance for 20 years. And you're worried that I'm going to do money laundering and terrorist financing now. Really? And so I've gone, look, so we kept bouncing it on up. And then they finally said, well, you're a politically exposed person. Well, now maybe we're getting closer to the heart of the matter here. But that is a term of art. That's a legal term. It applies to a foreign elected official. I am not a foreigner. And I was no longer an elected official, so it didn't apply to me on either of those accounts. Once we went public and out there with the media and telling people about this, I had 15 to 20 other organizations that contacted me saying this same thing had happened to them.
Those of us who worked on the Obama-era Operation Chokepoint, they deliberately called it Chokepoint because the idea was to choke off the financial oxygen of various disfavored industries. Those industries were things like payday lending and firearms dealing, ammunition sales, fireworks of all things. But those were industries that were being choked off, being suffocated, as you say. One of the things that we've seen whenever we've investigated debanking here at CEI is behind it all, somewhere there is a regulator that is pressuring the banks or the institutions not to do business with people. Do you think
with an agenda?
Yes,
a regulator with an agenda.
There was going to be collateral damage, and they didn't care about that collateral damage. So, as you say,
what they don't realize is the collateral damage is the faith in the system, the trust in the system.